just play the damn thing.
Back in 2018, I did a video basically showing you guys my entire guitar collection, one guitar at a time. And that video surprisingly went on to perform very well. You guys actually seem to have quite a bit of an interest in my guitar collection, and it's gotten a lot of views since then. Well, that was 2018. This is now 2024, so 6 years have gone by. And obviously, there's been some changes to my collection. Some of them I've moved on. Some of them, I've acquired some new ones that you guys have seen most of those, but not. At least I've featured them in videos. But regardless, that video from 2018 of my guitar collection still gets a lot of views. A lot of people have asked me for an update. So that's what we're going to do here in this video here today. But before we get started, I've mentioned here the last few days that I'm trying really, really hard to grow the channel this year. If you would do me the solid and hit the subscribe button on this channel if you haven't subscribed already, and also hit the alert icon. That way you will not miss out on any upcoming videos. I am uploading a lot of videos these days. Again, all in an attempt to upload the channel. And your support towards doing that really, really does help out a lot and goes a long, long way. Okay, let's check out some guitars. I'm going to start with the ones that are easily in reach. This is actually the newest one that I got, which is why it's also the closest in reach. This is a new guitar company called Fesley. I don't want to go into too much detail about this guitar because they're a brand new guitar company, and there is a new video on this guitar that's coming out soon here in the next couple of weeks. So, the demo video is on the way. I think you'll like it. This is a really, really good value. So stay tuned for the video on this guitar here, and like I said, here hopefully next couple of weeks. This one is the guitar itself really is nothing special. It's just an inexpensive Epiphone acoustic. This one actually belongs to my wife, but we keep it in here with mine, because that's where the guitars are kept. It realistically doesn't get played that much, and she doesn't even play guitar, but it's important to both of us because it was a gift to her from my late father-in-law. So there's a lot of sentimental value in this, which is why it's still around. This one here you guys have seen recently. This is the Zager ZAD, I forgot the model number. ZAD50? ZAD50CE is what this one's called. I am probably going to do a follow-up video on this one here in the coming months. For reasons I'm not going to reveal just yet. But at any rate, this is actually a really, really nice guitar. So, and I do like it. Even if it is out of tune. Next, we have my BC Rich ASM Pro. This is a Korean-made guitar, a full neck-through design, active EMG pickups that are in it. I found this guitar hanging on the used wall in Guitar Center Cincinnati in 2019, I believe. And, it was hanging there for a stupid price. You guys know I love BC Rich guitars. If this is not my best playing guitar in my collection, it's definitely in the top 3. The reason why I don't use it that much, though, is because I actually keep this one tuned to E standard. And most of my videos you guys see, and I usually play in drop C or D standard or something like that. I don't play at E standard on YouTube very often. So, but the band that I'm trying to get started in will likely have some E standard tunes, and this thing's gonna start getting some more use again because this guitar is awesome. Next, we have my Mockingbird Special. This one was featured in the last video. You guys have seen this one. This is a cool guitar. I've always thought of this particular model as kind of the BC Rich's import answer to the Les Paul. This is the archtop Mockingbird, and there's just something really, really cool about archtop Mockingbirds. But it's also got the 4-knob controls and dual humbuckers. This one's got Rockfield pickups in it, and it's also got a 24 3/4 inch scale length on it as opposed to 25 1/2. Again, neck through construction. Most of the time when I buy BC Rich's, that's what I prefer. I'm not a big bolt-on neck kind of guy with BC Rich guitars. I've owned several, but I keep reaching for the neck throughs, which, with one exception, which we'll get to here momentarily. But at any rate, this one's been with me for 12 years now or something like that. I've had this guitar for a long time. It's a beaut. A lot of metal guys' jaws hit the floor when I pull this guitar out, because this is the signature Warlock model of the late Joey Jordison. You know, well, Joey Jordison's a drummer. What do you mean he's got a signature guitar? He was the drummer for Slipknot, but he also had a side project with another band called Murder Dolls, in which he was the guitar player in, and this was the signature model that BC Rich created for him. There's a few different versions of this guitar. Again, this is the neck through version, you know, which is obviously the more expensive one, the Korean made one. And yeah, it's just a cool Warlock. It's a, you know, it's just a really, really cool guitar. Though the older I get, the more I question whether or not I can still pull off playing a guitar like this on stage. So I don't know. We'll see. Speaking of guitars that are a little bit pointier than I might be able to get away with these days, here's my BC Rich Draco V. These are getting hard to find. BC Rich is going through some tumultuous times right now, and I'll probably do a video on that here shortly in the coming days or weeks anyway. But anyway, as a result of a lot of that stuff, these are going up in value. You know, I think I paid $400 for this guitar. Now it's worth, you know, 4 times that almost. But it's a cool one, man. You know, these Draco V's, you know, when they came out with the Draco, I immediately fell in love and had to have one. And finally, this one came into my life. Next up in my BC Rich collection, this is the Dagger, which is the lone semi-hollow body guitar that I own. I'd actually forgotten until just now that I changed the tuners out on this thing. This one now has a set of Grover Tulip locking tuners. I guess I bought into the locking guitar tuner myth once upon a time. But it's also got a wiring problem in it, which I've never gone in and fixed. I need to get Tony to do that for me. But I'm not a big hollow body kind of guy. But, you know, they get a little too loose sounding for my taste. But it's a cool guitar. It's, you know, instead of F holes, it has dagger holes, which is kind of neat. And now on to the heaviest guitar that I own. This is my BC Rich acrylic Warlock. That you know, the pickups that came in these guitars, they came with the BC Rich BDSM pickups, which are total dog shit pickups. Muddiest sounding, you know, with like no output to them whatsoever. I mean, they sound terrible. I replaced these with a set of Duncan Blackouts active pickups. You know, this thing's so heavy. This thing weighs about 15 pounds, literally. So it is very difficult to sustain playing on stage for any length of time, you know, past a couple of songs. But if you're playing in a rock or metal band, you know, it looks really, really cool with the lights going on it. So, you know, and it's just kind of a unique piece, and these have become pretty highly sought after. This is the only bolt-on neck BC Rich that I have. And these were, obviously, that's how these were all made. They only came in bolt-on varieties. All right, this is one of 3 basses that I own. This is this is an Eagle bass. It's difficult to date these because of, you know, the serial number on these. They ran out of them. You know, they ran out of serial numbers because they ended up selling a lot more than they thought that they were going to. So you know, the history behind these, what happened is, you know, the serial numbers for 1978, again, they ran out of them. So well into the 1978 run, they started using 1979 serial numbers, and so on and so on and so on. And this run with these, which were made, I believe, from 78 to 82. You know, by the time they got to 82, you know, the serial numbers were so convoluted, and it was just impossible to figure out which ones came from what year. So it's from that period there, about 4 or 5 years. But this is the original NJ series. Any bass player will tell you this thing's about as nice as any USA made BC Rich bass out there. This is probably my favorite bass. It's not the one that I use the most, but I did use this one a lot when I played bass in a Southern rock cover band many years ago. And yep, this bass slams. This is the lone 5-string bass that I have. I love Yamaha instruments and, you know, guitars and basses and stuff, and, you know, they just make phenomenal instruments. This is a BB, what is this, the BB 425. So Yamaha BB basses are pretty tough to beat. You know, somewhere between like a jazz bass and an Ernie Ball, like a Music Man of some kind. So is where these things land. Just good quality instrument. Just a good quality instrument. I didn't have a 5-string, and I needed one to record with on occasion, and that's the only reason I bought it, and that's really about the only thing I use it for. This is my 1992, I believe is what year it's from, based on the serial number. I'm going off of, and I could be completely wrong. If you were able to see the serial number, you might be able to decode it better than I can, but near as I can tell, it's from 92. So Korean-made Flying V. You know, the old 90s Korean-made Epiphones were a lot different than the ones that came out today. These were, quality-wise, you cover up with the name on the headstock, and a lot of people would have a really, really hard time telling you, that this was an Epiphone, not a Gibson. A buddy of mine actually gave me this guitar, and he's a big diehard Jimi Hendrix guy, and he did some mods to it. So I think that was actually another volume knob or a switch or something like that. And anyway, when he still had it, he did some mods, but there's also a little Jimi Hendrix sticker on it, right above the volume knob. And I mean, let's face it, Jimmy, who doesn't like Jimi Hendrix? So I left it on there. And here we have the first Gibson that I bought with my own money. I think I paid $550 for this guitar, which was was a ridiculous price for this guitar even at the time. It's a 2001, I believe, or 2002. It's been refinished, I think, based on the logo that's on the back, the previous owner. I mean, I'm not familiar with, with mirror image or what that is, but I'm assuming it's an auto body shop of some kind, and it's not uncommon practice for guitar players to take their guitars to auto body shops to get repainted. Which I think is what this is. So they obviously airbrushed it. This was originally a white Explorer, but somebody airbrushed it with this orange, yellow, red airbrush flame looking kind of thing, and it looks really, really cool, which is why I've never changed it. Beyond that, everything else on it's original, electronics and everything. And this one's been with me for a while, and it's not going anywhere. This is this guitar special. And the other Explorer I own is this guy, which is a 2015 model, and this one is a little bit different story. This one I've kind of got a love-hate relationship with. As Gibsons go, I love Explorers, which is really initially why I bought this guitar in the first place. Or actually, I traded for it. I had another Schecter Blackjack, which I'll get to here in a little bit. And a guy wanted that guitar for this guitar straight across. So I mean, so that deal was a no-brainer for me. So I took it. But he had just bought this guitar. He'd had it like a week, and hadn't done any setup work or anything like that to it, but in the meantime, it needed a lot of work. I mean, the strings were, the action was so high I could have crawled up underneath the strings and taken a nap. And it needed a lot of work. It plays okay now, but I'm always reminded about just how out of whack this guitar was, which was pretty common for Gibson guitars back in 2015, unfortunately. This here is my first Les Paul. This is an Epiphone Les Paul Custom Black Beauty model, the 3 pickup. I don't know where I first saw this thing, probably a magazine ad or somewhere on the internet. I don't know. Had to have it though. And this is, I was a lot younger. There was no way I was ever going to be able to afford a Gibson, much less the Gibson version of this model. I got a big tax return one year and went to my local guitar shop and they ordered it with a case. And I don't play this guitar much anymore, but it does have a lot of sentimental value to me because at the time that I bought it, I thought this was the greatest guitar on the planet, and I couldn't believe that I owned it. Now, the friend of mine that gave me the Epiphone Flying V also gave me this guitar, and he is notoriously way hard on gear, and he does mods and he beats the tar out of his guitars and loses interest in them within a couple of months and moves on from them. This one is a fake Gibson. This is obviously a Chipson model, and he had taken the, you can see the headstock shape's wrong, logo's a little off. It's clearly not authentic at all, and I've never tried to pass it off as anything but not authentic. But he did, the front, the middle pickup is actually disconnected, and the front and back pickups are actually now Duncan 59s. It sounds good, but it doesn't stay in tune worth a shit. So. But it's cool because it's, it does have a Bigsby, or at least a fake Bigsby on it, and it just looked cool hanging on the wall. Now, before I got that guitar, the same friend of mine also gave me this one. Again, another Gibson, fake Gibson, whatever you want to call it. This one, on the other hand, is a good guitar, though. I do play this one, and it's got some mileage on it, of course. Again, that's how Mark treats his guitars. But I actually changed the pickups in. That's a full Duncan full shred, and the bridge and a 59 in the neck. And you know, the gold is starting to tarnish on it and fade, and you know, I mean, it's realistically it's just a beater of a guitar, but it sounds good. It sounds good, and it plays really, really well. I actually sometimes take this one out to gigs with me, you know, because 99% of the audience isn't gonna realize this thing's fake. Speaking of a friend of mine that likes to beat up guitars, this is another one that also came from him. You know, with this one was a trade for another guitar that I had that he had also given me. This was obviously my my Gibson Zakk Wylde Vertigo Les Paul. These are really, I mean, these were a limited run. They only made 300 of these. This is number 81, as you can see there. And you guys know I'm a huge Zakk Wylde fan. This one's special. The pickups, you know, he took out and put some, you know, like Gibson burst buckers or something stupid in it that I hated. So, you know, he gave me back the original EMGs, so I put those back in, and you know, he had also changed out the strap buttons to eye bolts because that's what Zakk uses. And the original tuners, who knows where those wound up? You know, he had a set of like vintage style Klusons, you know, with the plastic buttons on them, and I don't like those tuners either. So I swapped those out for a set of Gibson modern tulip tuners. And there we are. This is my Zakk Wylde Les Paul Vertigo guitar. A lot of people ask me about this guitar, and you know, just again, me being as big of a Zakk Wylde fan as I am, this one's special. And this is my very first Gibson. This is a 2007 SG Special, the worn faded variety. My mother bought me this guitar for my 30th birthday. So it's now 16. I'm now 46, so I've had it for 16 years now. Again, I swapped the pickups out in this one as well because the original 490s that came with it, I still got them laying around somewhere. But I did not like those in this guitar at all. So it's now got a Dirty Fingers in the bridge and a, what is that? That's a Burst Bucker Pro in the neck. I'm not a big 7-string guy at all. Certainly not an 8-string guy. You know, but I wanted something that I could, you know, that I could get down into those lower register tunings, you know, without having to put, you know, these power lines, heavy ass gauge strings on in order to maintain the proper tension. So I decided to get a baritone guitar, and this is the one that I ended up going with. This is a Chapman ML1 modern baritone. This is the V2. The original factory that they were having that was making these guitars in China wasn't doing a very good job. So Chapman actually moved all their production over to a guitar in Indonesia. When I ordered this thing, because it was on back order forever, and I waited a long time for it, when I told people, you know, I told viewers that I was waiting on this thing, a lot of people started laughing at me and bitching them. Oh, you know, Chapman guitars are notorious for. This thing was next to perfect right out of the box. It was even like almost perfectly in tune with itself. I mean, it was tuned down a little bit, you know, because they were smart enough not to ship the guitar with the strings fully, you know, neck full tension on it. But you know, I mean, I was just blown away by the build quality on this guitar, and I still am. And it's a cool one because it's you know, it's got coil taps, and you know, it's actually got a fairly versatile sound to it, and I like it. And I liked it so well that in the same year, later that year, I ended up buying this guitar, which is the Chapman ML1 Traditional, which is a Strat style guitar. I don't have a Strat or a Strat style guitar still. I can't believe I don't actually own a Fender Strat because I love the sound of a Fender Strat, but I don't have one, and I wanted a good affordable option. So again, this is what I chose. It's a Strat style guitar. Definitely, it's kind of got some more modern appointments. You know, that bridge and tremolo system are not what you're going to find on a Fender these days. But yeah, you know, when I need a Strat sound though, this is typically what I grab. Now for Strat guitars, I guess I do own this one, but even though I haven't used it in forever. This was my very, very first guitar. I saved my allowance when I was a kid for years to buy this thing. It's not much more than wall art these days, you know, but very, very cool wall art. This is a brand called a TSX 2000. I think this was Korean made, based on, you know, it's got stickers and stuff on the back of it like they did back in the late 80s. When I saw this guitar as a kid, I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. And I had to have it, and still have it. I'll have to plug this thing in and see how it sounds. This one is a fairly recent addition. This is a new guitar company called EART Guitars. I think is how it's pronounced. I've never really gotten a clear answer on that. But this is a model, I think it's called the TL380, I believe it. Obviously, it's like kind of like a modern telly style guitar like a Charvel. I've always compared it to like a modern Charvel because of the dual humbuckers and the coil taps and stuff like this. You know, they sent me this guitar to demo on the channel. You know, and most of the time when I receive guitars like this, usually, you know, I hang on to them, I do the demo, and then I move them on. You know, usually I sell them, or, you know, or I might hang on to them for a month or two, you know, and then sell them or do something, you know. But this one I thought was a great enough quality guitar. I decided to keep it, and I'm still planning on keeping it. It's just a great, it's a, you know, for $399, this guitar costs $399. I don't know where else you're going to find a $400 guitar that's as nice as this one, to be quite honest. Seriously, go check these out. These are great. And we now move on to the most embonerating guitar that I own. This is my Music Man Majesty. I love this guitar. The first time I played one, I absolutely fell in love with it and had to buy one. And I got real lucky when I found this. This one was on Guitar Center's website. It's got a little bit more wear on it now because I play it a lot, but it was on Guitar Center's website in virtually brand new condition. I think it was at the Boston store. A Berkeley student had bought it a year before, and it pretty much just sat in a case in his dorm room. And then he sold it back to the store a year later. They had it listed for $14.99, so naturally I jumped on it. And the other thing was cool about this, I'm not real big on gold guitars, like, you know, with like Les Paul gold. I hate Les Paul gold tops. I hate gold top Les Pauls. You know, I like the story behind them. I think the story's really cool, but, you know, the actual gold top finish itself, I'm not big on. Not my thing. So I was kind of hesitant about this one, but then it occurred to me, this is a really, really rare finish for this guitar. You know, you see the copper ones are everywhere. The Arctic Dream ones are everywhere. The white ones, the black ones, the red ones. You know, all from that first run of the Music Man Majesties. Those are all really, really easy to find. You never see the gold, though. This is a finish called Gold Mine, and I just love it because this guitar does everything. You know, you can put it in single coil mode in the middle position. It's got a piezo pickup in it. That's by far the best sounding piezo I've ever heard, and you know, it literally sounds just like an acoustic. And that tremolo, despite not being a locking tremolo, I mean, you can sit there and bang on it all day. This thing will not go out of tune. It's just an absolutely amazing instrument. I wish I had more of them, to be honest. This is the guitar that made me a believer in Music Man. Their Music Man quality, build quality, is second to none in the industry right now. Nobody's building guitars as well as they are, period. This is my favorite acoustic guitar. This is a Yamaha A1R. You know, these came out, they were just really, really good value, you know, working man's acoustics. And I think these are still being made, actually. You know, they make the entire A series. There's A1, A3, and A5. I think they're up to now. I bought this when I was a Guitar Center employee. Yamaha was offering these. They had just come out. They were offering these to Guitar Center employees direct from them for a really, really stupid deal. I think I paid like $200 for it. You know, and at the time, it was a $700 guitar. Now these are close to $1,000. That was one of the perks of being a Guitar Center employee. Is you get some really, really good deals on some really cool gear. It's always played great, and it's never failed me, never let me down. And it sounds great, and I love it. This guitar was this is a Washburn KC40V is the model number, from the early 90s, I believe. This guitar was really just an impulse buy at my local Sam Ash. These are kind of hard to find any info about because they were made before, you know, like I said, back in the late 80s, early 90s. You know, Washburn had a fire at their factory. You know, that's where all the records were stored. So all the records on these guitars went up in flames. There's a little bit of information out there on the internet, but not a whole lot. So everything on it appears to be original. The finish is still up in the air. I've never seen one with a finish like this before, to be honest. But, you know, like I said, this was kind of an impulse buy guitar. I've actually got it listed for sale right now if anybody is interested. But, you know, because it's a cool guitar. I just don't play it. This is a company called Schroeder Guitars from Germany. And I got in touch with this company via Facebook or something like that. I think, yeah, it was through Facebook, you know, and we were going to, you know, they were going to have me demo some of their instruments. And they actually sent me this. They were supposed to send me a different model, and they sent me this one by mistake. They were a new guitar company, still kind of figuring things out. And no big deal, you know, but good quality guitar. I think this one was originally going to be listed for about $1,500 or so. Was what this one was originally going to retail at. You know, this is a model there called the Sharpshooter. Pretty straightforward, just a PJ Marks pickup. in the bridge. Those were real popular in the 80s. And basically, Japanese Goto. Floyd Rose, Japanese Goto tuners, I believe. I mean, it's got some really, really nice appointments on it. $1,500 price point on these was absolutely really, really fair. And I think that's also an ebony fretboard with abalone inlays. The problem is, the company seems to have vanished. They stopped responding to my Facebook messages and, all the ways that we were communicating. They haven't posted on their own page in a couple of years now. I mean, they simply seem to have just up and vanished. I don't know what happened to them. I hope that they resurrect themselves at some point, because I was really, really excited about this brand. And then, like I said, they just disappeared. This is my Schecter Blackjack SLS. This was my primary gear demo guitar for YouTube for a long time. This is the one that I wound up with 2 of these in my possession. The other one had a finish blemish on it, and that's the one that I traded off for the Wine Red Explorer. But this one I made sure and hung on to, because really, this is the one that kind of made me fall in love with Schecter guitars. This is the SLS neck profile, which just plays like a dream. And there's just a lot going for this guitar. It's got a lot of really, really cool specs on it. It's just a great instrument, as most Schecters are. And this is another impulse buy of mine. This is a Jackson Soloist, one of the import versions, one of the import models. I don't even remember the name, SLX something or other. I'd have to look it up. I did a video on it a while back, but again, I had a Guitar Center gift card or something burned a hole in my pocket. They had this one listed used for like $300 or something. I don't remember. It was a stupid deal. And I always wanted a Jackson Soloist. I'd never had it, believe it or not, even though it's my last name. I've actually never had a Jackson before. So for $300, why not? I grabbed it. Now, I'd never had a Jackson before, but I have had this one for a number of years. This is a Charvel Model 5 from 1987 specifically. These are, people are rediscovering these guitars now, the entire model series. People are rediscovering these now all of a sudden, and values of these are starting to climb in value. They're starting to skyrocket quite a bit. I had a diesel 412 cab that I traded for this, and part of me kind of wishes I'd hung on to the diesel cab instead, but at the time, number one, I didn't use it. Number two, I didn't have anywhere to keep it. Figured I'd get more use out of the guitar anyway, which I did, and I have. I still have it. I mean, I've had this thing 8 or 9 years now. It's just a workhorse, great guitar. And this one I've gotten here in the last year or so. This is my Schecter Sun Valley Super Shredder. A friend of mine had one of these a few years back that I demoed on my channel a long time ago, and it was another one that I just really, really wanted. Also, I didn't have a guitar with a Sustainiac, and I've always thought Sustainiacs are just the coolest damn things on the planet. And fortunately, Schecter have been putting a lot of those. Have been building a lot of their guitars with a Sustainiac option, including this one. So between the red swirl, that red swirl finish, weird looking finish thing that I thought was uber cool, and the Sustainiac and the Floyd and everything, I had to have it. And like most Schecters, it's a smoking ass guitar. I bought this one a couple years ago. This is a Kramer Beretta Special, which at the time was a $179 guitar. I'd heard a lot about these, particularly for the money, so I figured for $180, why not? Let's try it and see what we got. And actually, by itself, it impressed me. When Gibson first acquired Kramer, they didn't do much with them, and that first run of Kramer guitars under Gibson ownership were total garbage. All of them, dog shit. Well, new ownership came around, and they decided to resurrect the brand the right way this time, and they are doing it right this time. And this is a good quality guitar. The other reason why I bought it is because I wanted a pickup mule, something I could swap pickups in and out of as needed. And then my buddy Rich at Voodoo Pickups sent me this this prototype. It was a prototype pickup of a new model that he was coming out with, that I've already forgotten the name of. I'll post it there on the screen. But at any rate, it's a blazing hot pickup. This thing has a 47K resistance, which is absolutely insane for insane output. Though it doesn't really sound like it. It actually still does clean up, which I did not expect. And I liked it so well, I just left it in there. And guitar is no longer a pickup mule. Now, speaking of 80s shred machine guitars, this one here is a a legitimate Kramer Focus 1000 from 1984. The 1000 had the single pickup in it as opposed to 3000 I think had two. You know, Eddie Van Halen was endorsed by Kramer at the time, was playing Kramer guitars, and this is where the inspiration for this model came from. There's a lot of really nice appointments on this guitar by today's standards. If you want to know how far the guitar industry has come since 1984 when this guitar was built, this was considered a student model guitar. It came with a hard shell case. I swapped the pickup in it for a Duncan distortion, by the way, but the original is still in the case. Again, the original Kramer hard shell case that it came with. These were made in Japan. That's an original Floyd Rose tremolo and locking nut, and that is a Brazilian rosewood fretboard. On a beginner, entry-level student guitar. Try to find that for a beginner, entry-level student guitar price these days. Good luck, I'll wait. Next up, this was my first, what I called my first real guitar, and I still play it today. This is an Aria Pro 2 XL from the 90s, early 90s, and these are just, again, you can tell the era that it came from. Looks real similar to the shred guitars of that era and feels and plays just like one. If you want a really, really good value, go look for just about anything Aria Pro 2. Anything by that brand, because they're all over the place on the used market, and I bet you could buy if you find this guitar or something similar, you probably pay $300-400 for it. Mine's over 30 years old and still going strong, if that tells you anything. Next up, from the same era, we have a guitar that has just kind of affectionately been known as Frank, because there is no brand name on it, there is no serial number on it, there is no identifying markings on it whatsoever. It was a custom build. There's been speculation about who built it, and I don't think any of them are right. A buddy of mine owned this guitar for years. I think he bought this guitar for himself right out of college at a shop in Zionsville, Indiana. I think he said it was. It is long since closed and no longer there. He was wanting to move on from this guitar because he'd had it for so long. At the time, I had a Boss GT10 effects processor, I think, that was basically brand new, that we ended up trading for. The most identifying thing about this guitar is it's got the Bartolini pickups in it, which I did a video on here the last couple of months. I'll check out that video up here in the card. And these pickups are pretty unique sounding. I've never heard anything else like them. 1985 Hammer Scarab 2. No, it's still not for sale. Yes, this is the USA version. This isn't the import. I'm a pointy guitar fanatic. That shape is pretty tough to beat. And I was really, really lucky when I stumbled across this guitar, and I'm still lucky to own it today. And the reason why I say it's not for sale is because people make me offers for this guitar all the time, and not a one of them has been serious. So, but even if it were serious, like I said, it's not for sale because I love this guitar. This is an original Ibanez Xiphos, the XPT 700 model to be specific. This is the 6-string version. Like I said, I'm not a big 7-string guy. Ibanez recently brought back this model. They're not making it with the blue chameleon finish. This one originally came in blue chameleon and a red chameleon finish that, as you can see, changes color in the light. But this is a badass guitar. Obviously, it's a take on the Jackson Warrior, and the Jackson Warrior, by the way, is a take on the old BC Rich Stealth. It's kind of in that same vein of guitar body styles. Thank God Ibanez finally brought back the Xiphos, because these are killer guitars. And yeah, go check them out now. And here we have my Dean Razorback. This was kind of a limited model that they call the 10K commemorative. It actually has that's a real diamond plate. And Dimebag fanatics, of course, really like this guitar. These are really, really hard to find now. I don't know how many of these are made, but when they do pop up, they tend to go for a lot of money now. So, and I just bought it because I think it's a kick-ass, really, really cool pointy guitar. Now, if you don't know this about me, I'm a huge, huge, huge Kiss fan. Metallica is probably my all-time favorite band, but if there's a band that's tied up there for me with Metallica, it's definitely Kiss. And this is a USA Washburn signature Paul Stanley guitar. I think this is called the PS 2000. I think it was obviously based off of the the Ibanez Iceman that he was once, still is really well known for playing. I don't play this guitar very much because unfortunately it needs a bit of a neck repair. And it's needed that since I've got it. Honestly, I've just never gotten around to go do it. But as a Kiss fanatic, this is a kick-ass guitar. Well, this is another Gibson guitar. This is actually a it's kind of weird because it's like a fake Gibson Les Paul, but it's a fake version of the James Hetfield Iron Cross Les Paul Custom, and it's, you know, the pickups ended up, you know, took out, tried to swap them out for a set of EMG James Hetfield pickups. This guitar, I let a buddy of mine borrow it, and you know, because he was going to do the pickup swap for me, and never got it completed. You know, in the interim, he had it weeks, and weeks stretched out into months, and then the point we both forgot about it. Well, in the meantime, his job actually transferred him down to North Carolina for a while, and you know, at that point, I had kind of lost touch with him at that point because he changed his cell phone number. I didn't have any other way to get a hold of him. I just assumed this thing was gone. You know, well, we got back in touch, and turns out this thing's been sitting over at his in-laws' house this whole time. So I went back over and picked it up, and he's since moved back to back here to the Indianapolis area. You know, and you know, good thing too, because you know, he's one of the guys I'm trying to get a band started with right now. But besides the point, while he was still living out of state, I went back over and picked this thing up from his in-laws' house. And I can't show this guitar to you because it was gone from me for so long that I have totally forgotten what the case combination to this thing is, and even I haven't seen this guitar in 5-6 years now at least. Here's one of my dumber impulse buys over the years. Obviously, this is just a cheap Paul Stanley Kiss Signature acoustic. I bought it for 2 reasons. The main reason, the obvious reason, obviously because you know, because of the Kiss provenance in it. I just told you I'm a diehard Kiss fan, but also this is actually a Silvertone guitar, and I happen to think that Silvertone guitars of all kinds, Silvertone guitars are really cool, including this one. I think I paid 150 bucks for it. It's probably not even worth that much now anymore. I don't know. Maybe it's worth more. Who knows? I haven't looked this thing up in a long time. But it's basically a couch guitar. I keep it on a stand next to the couch in my loft. That's what this thing is. Now here's the bass that I use the most for recording. Usually when I'm recording a full track demo of just about any kind on my channel, this is usually the bass that I use to record that with. And this is a Charvel Model 3B. Is what this is. This is what year is this? See, 86. 1986. It's got a, you know, a set of, what are those? Barts? No, I'm sorry. This has got a set of Limbic pickups and a preamp in it. A buddy of mine that had it before me managed to put in this thing. And this is the one that you guys always see hanging on the wall in the background in a lot of my videos. You know, particularly full track demo segments. And this is, like I said, this is just good solid instrument. If you follow my channel at all, you probably ought to be familiar with this guitar because this is the one that I use the most. This is my Schecter CR6, and this is just a kick-ass, reliable working man's guitar. It stays in tune exceptionally well. It's got the SLS neck profile on it, which is the really, really thin Schecter neck profile that I really like. Those are Schecter USA pickups that offer a lot of clarity and just the right amount of output for me. And that is a really, really kick-ass looking green finish on it that I have always enjoyed. And the reverse headstock I kind of got a thing for too. I bought this guitar because, you know, really I just wanted a good solid working man's guitar that I could use, you know, affordable guitar that I could use for product demo. I didn't want to, you know, I don't generally like to do gear demos with, you know, $3,000 and $4,000 guitars that most people can't afford. I generally prefer them to do something like this that most people can afford. You know, this guitar brand new when I bought it was $699. I think now it sells for $799 brand new. You know, again, if you covered up the made-in part on the headstock, I'm not sure you'd be able to tell much of a difference between this or any of the, you know, their actual high-end USA stuff. You know, it's just an excellent guitar that has, for YouTube purposes anyways, just turned into my #1 guitar. You know, didn't plan it that way, just kind of, it's a good enough instrument, that's what happened. People that don't follow this channel actually seem to ask me all the time what this guitar is because, you know, it's a looker. You know, she's definitely a looker. And this one here's probably my latest impulse buy. This is an Ibanez RGRT 421. I always liked these guitars because it was, you know, again, it's a good bang for your buck. This guitar brand new is $499. $500 for, you know, that you can buy this guitar brand new. I bought it used for $299. You know, legit neck through. You know, those are probably import DiMarzio pickups of some kind that sound just as good as any of the USA ones I've heard. It was just a good deal, and, you know, it was another instance I had, you know, gear card rewards or something burning a hole in my pocket, and I'd wanted one of these for a while, so I pulled the trigger on Guitar Center's website. And last but not least, this is another guitar that you guys always ask me about whenever I pull it out. This is a Charvel Desolation Series guitar, and I have to assume that Fender discontinued this entire series because they determined that they were just giving away way too much guitar for the money. This thing had, you know, the appointments that are on this thing, and you can see all the binding and the inlays and stuff. It's all like legit abalone or mother of pearl or something. Legit active EMG, USA active EMG pickups, you know, legit neck through construction, you know, locking tuners. I mean, there's a lot going for this guitar. And at the time that it was out, it sold for $649. And when they, for whatever reason, when they discontinued it, musicians' friends started blowing these things out, and I paid $199 for it. And I didn't know then how much I was going to enjoy this thing, much less how much I was going to be playing it. And I do play it a lot. Just got that awesome active EMG sound to it that seems like you can really only get that sound with you know, with EMG pickups. So that's it. That is my current guitar collection. I was not counting these as I was going through them, but I think we're up in the 40s somewhere, you know, or, you know, low to mid 40s. I don't know how many, 42, 43, 40 something. Anyway, you guys have been asking me to see them for a while, and there's a lot of these that, you know, you guys sometimes see in the background and ask and are curious about, want me to show you. And there's some of them that don't make it into the background of my videos at all, like a lot of my BC Rich guitars that I thought you guys might be interested to check out here as well. So don't forget to leave your comment down below and let me know your thoughts. Adios.